Well, here's a pleasant thought. You deal with different kinds of risk every single day of your life. All right, maybe it's not so pleasant, but it is true. And there are some types of risks that you can mitigate or remove just by your own decision making. For example, when I was younger, I thought it'd be kind of cool to go bungee jumping. Now, not so much. It's a pretty silly way to injure myself or worse. So I've eliminated that risk just by deciding not to do it. However, there are a number of financial risks that you can't just eliminate by your decision. You have to decide how much you want to pay and if you want to pay to help mitigate those risks. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Different types of financial risk and what the average odds are for that risk occurring and what the average costs are to prevent or at least mitigate that risk. The types of risk I'll be talking about today are home, auto, life, disability, and long-term care. For homeowners insurance, the average cost on a national range is about $2,500 to $3,500 a year. The data shows that about 5 to 6% of insured homes file a claim each year. Over a 5-year period, it ends up being about 1 in 4 homeowners will file a claim at least once. What about auto insurance? Well, the average premiums for auto insurance in 2025 are around $2,400 to $2,700 a year for full coverage. Again, this is an average. What are the odds of needing coverage? Well, in 2022, there were 5,930,496 police reported crashes, including injury and property damage events. So that means about 1 in 38 drivers per year had a police reported crash. Which over an average driving lifetime, that equates to a very high likelihood of at least one crash, making auto insurance essential. Life insurance, the average cost of term life insurance, it would depend on your age, but a reasonable range for a healthy adult could be anywhere from $300 to $1,200 a year, depending on your age and your coverage. Interestingly, only 1% of term policies ultimately pay a death benefit. That's because most policyholders outlive the term or they let those policies lapse. But the purpose of life insurance isn't about probability, it's about the financial impact. So life insurance does provide essential protection for dependents against the certainty of death whenever that occurs. For disability insurance, long-term disability insurance on average costs for $75,000 about $750 to $2,250 a year. For $150,000 about $1,500 to $4,500 per year. But the odds of becoming disabled before retirement, there's a 24% chance, or about a 1 in 4, that a 20-year-old today will become disabled before they reach normal retirement age. Other disability risks show 1 in 3 workers under age 35 will be disabled for 6 months or more during their career, and 3 in 10 workers entering the workforce today will experience a disability before retirement. Disability risk is far more common than consumers realize. And finally, long-term care insurance. Long-term care is widely based on age and the benefit choices. For age 55, long-term care insurance, typical long-term care insurance is about $950 all the way up to $6,400 a year. The 2026 averages are about from $79 to $533 a month. That's quite a wide range. So why do people get it? Well, the odds of needing long-term care insurance are pretty high. 70% of Americans age 65 or greater will need some form of long-term care in their lifetime, according to Retirement Living. 56% of adults turning 65 will develop a disability requiring long-term support services. That makes long-term care the highest probability major financial risk that retirees face. Now, I quoted prices for long-term care insurance. There are a variety of options. I'm not going to get into them today, and I'm not recommending any particular one, but there are a number of different ways that you could actually protect against any of these risks. Part of it is deciding not to pay premiums for the insurance and paying out of pocket, or the other is accept the risk, don't pay for protection, and understand that a possible financial burden could arise. In summary, we're all dealing with risk. Your choice is to decide how important you feel that risk is, what the impact might be to you or your family, and are you willing to pay to mitigate some of that risk? If so, it's a good idea to do your research, work with someone who can help you with that research if needed, but make sure you understand not just the risks, but the benefit of protecting against those risks, as well as the cost. Is that a good value for you?